Welcome to Lake of Voices, a free horror visual novel on Steam by GB Patch Games, about an ill-fated journey across the Lake Sinnlos, a lake where gruesome monsters lurk just beneath the surface. A collection of travelers gather to make the long and arduous journey across a maze of bridges spanning the dark lake, filled with a collection of creatures just waiting to pull us into its depths and drown us. We're aided by a mysterious guide who agrees to help us cross the lake, but informs us that not all of us will make it to the other side. It's up to us to choose who can be saved. Anyone can be saved, but the catch is, not everyone can be. With that in mind, let's play. No choices. Certain choices are timed. Time running out isn't something to completely avoid. In some cases, not getting involved can open in new possibilities. Essentially, not making a choice. Not making a choice is sometimes a choice in itself. Okay, so survive until the second night. The story will branch to one of 5 different plot lines based on early decisions. There are in fact multiple endings, and also multiple variations on endings, which I assume. Obviously, there seems to be 5 distinct routes and variations based on character affection. So, my grip on my lantern tightens as the fog around us thickens. While the forests in the area are relatively safe compared to Sinnlos, can't help but feel my hair stand on end the further we get. My free hand fingers the hilt of my sword. Something akin to a nervous reflex.
Have you seen it before?
Bemelle breaks the silence, either sensing my unease or assuaging his own. I hope it's the latter.
I haven't. I've had no reason to go near this cursed lake until now. What have you?
Also, yes, this game is fully voice acted. I'm going to turn the voice volume up just a little bit. I say as I turn it up nearly all the way. Bemelle scratches his chin casually, as though I asked what his favorite food is.
I traveled the long way around it once before. Not so pleasant. Something about it just frays your nerves. Although, even being near it is enough.
So I'm not the only one who feels it. A sense of relief hits me, but not enough to undo this buzzing of anxiety. The lake, Sinnlos. Most try their best to avoid it all their lives. The hundreds who die attempting to cross its unearthly black water, dragged to death by the creatures lurking within, aren't a secret.
No wonder you were assigned this mission.
There are few who've had first-hand experience with the place, even if from a distance. They'll probably keep being picked whenever they need someone to cross, for however long he's with us. Bemelle shrugs, bringing my attention back to the dark path before us.
At least we're taking the bridge this time. It'll only take 2 days instead of double that, and the sooner this place is behind us, the better.
It would be preferable not to risk it. But time is of the essence. We don't really have a choice.
One of our allied villages, Hemer, is being harassed by brigadiers, a brand of ruffians. We don't have many guards to send as an assist, only Bemelle and myself. Least we can do is arrive before we are too late to be of any use. These kinds of squabbles happen often, but have to be put down lest they turn into a blood grudge or all-out war. The last we heard, neither option was that far off.
I can also see why they chose you to come out here.
I glance at Bemelle, an eyebrow raised. A slight smile plays across his lips.
You're always so calm and so serious. Nothing can get to you. You're the best choice they had.
A smile now tugs at my own lips. I would like to thank him, but that wouldn't be so calm and serious as he just described. If that's how he sees me, I'd like to keep it that way. My lack of reaction only made his smile grow, and he chuckles a bit before refocusing on the path. I do the same. It wouldn't be right to let my guard down in a place like this. Bemelle appears to feel differently, however.
You know the town on the other side of the lake, though. It's not so similar to ours. If all goes well, perhaps we'll have enough time to enjoy the new area.
For the most part, I ignore him, nodding when applicable. Bemelle is a talkative sort, and if chatting helps keep his worries down and his sword hand ready, I have no complaints. After a time, the thick fog surrounding us begins to clear. A slick wooden dock comes into view. With it, the sounds of water gently lapping at its sides. Bemelle shifts beside me, stretching his lantern arm as far as it will go. He seems tense.
Someone's already here.
A young woman stands by the dock, eyeing us warily. Does she intend to cross tonight? Evidently she has the same question. As we step up next to her, it's clear she isn't simply passing by. She's waiting. The stranger nods curtly to us.
Margaret.
Kikka the Steadfast.
Bemelle.
Bemelle.
Hello?
Apologies. There's a stuffy silence. Margaret turns to gaze out across the lake, expression unclear. With not much to say, Bemelle and I do the same. From here, the black surface of the lake looks disarmingly calm. Wind rushes across its surface, a sound like whispering. Though perhaps it actually is whispering. Concentrate, trying to place the difference, searching for breaks and rhythm. After a few seconds, I feel foolish. Doesn't matter what the noise is, whether I hear them or not. We're not alone. The Nixi are out there. A feeling that I can't quite shake tells me they've already noticed the little group of people on their shores. It feels hostile. My stomach sinks, and I instead address Bemelle.
Where is the guide?
Unless he's on the center island, or on the complete other side, your guess is as good as mine. It's dark as pitch out there.
Panic rises inside me. Panic I try hard to quell.
We can't cross without him, and we need to get going soon.
You can't cross with him either.
The woman behind us, Margaret, cuts in with something like a snort.
What?
I know the guide will be here tonight. I have already made arrangements with him to cross.
Bemelle and I share a look. The woman seems haughty and willing to put up a fuss.
I have his word he'll take me today. It would be wiser for the two of you to begin the trip around if you're really in such a hurry. Or you can make camp here and wait for him to make the trip back if you prefer.
I know someone in the comments is going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to restrain myself from saying it. I know what you think. I'm not going to do it. I don't need to turn my attention to Bemelle to know he's riled up. I step in before he can say something rash.
Even if that is so, my companion and I must begin the trip tonight.
Margaret is unimpressed and opens her mouth to argue further.
We'll wait for the guide to arrive before coming to a conclusion about any of this.
She clamps her mouth shut, then lets out a sigh.
You can do as you like.
There, all better. With the matter tentatively settled, Bemelle moves away. His finger begins to tap loudly against the top of his hilt. He shifts from one foot to another, then groans.
What's that bastard even up to?
I almost visibly start, but manage to restrain myself. He probably doesn't know any better. I'm sure of that. It's not worth mentioning.
With a mouth like that, you shouldn't even have the right to ask the guide to take you across.
How ludicrous. He's faced far worse than a bit of foul language.
Do you know anything that's happened with this lake?
I know enough.
Margaret is clearly not convinced, but she shrugs and makes a show of turning her back to him.
The guide's father is Garvin the Exemplar. Garvin never accepted the guide as his son, all the way up until he died, in this lake. Your statement could be seen as tasteless.
Oh.
Bemelle rubs the back of his neck, his face regretful.
My apologies to the guide. I didn't mean it that way. I never knew about his... well, that.
A smile spreads across my face, one I quickly wipe away. I really did just misspeak. Silence slowly stretches between the three of us, growing more awkward with each passing second. Margaret seems irritated, and Bemelle abashed. I'm sure you're forgiven, Bemelle.
I know you. You are brash but not intentionally cruel. I'm sure all is well.
Bemelle smiles and claps me on the back.
You're a good woman, Kikka. Smart, too. You've never been here, yet you knew more of the guy than I did.
I know about Garvin, truthfully. Tales of his deeds were some of the only stories my parents ever told.
Oh.
Is that so? You could tell me more about it sometime.
I pause, unsure how to respond to this type of request.
I would like that very much.
Oh.
Yes, I wouldn't mind that. It must wait until after this trip, though.
Oh.
Of course. We should drop this topic sooner rather than later, in any case.
I agree.
Even if there is no harm meant, hearing someone mention Garvin is probably difficult for the guy, no matter what the circumstance. With the topic dropped, we each remain locked inside our own thoughts, not another word passing between us. Eventually, a small light appears on the bridge ahead, gently swaying through the foggy air. It gets closer and closer, until it becomes apparent it's a figure carrying a lantern. It must be the guide, but I can't shake the ghostly aura it gives off. The figure steps onto the shore, but we wait for him to approach us instead of going to meet him. None of us are sure how close to get to the waters we can get before it is no longer safe. He stops in front of us and simply stares.
Are you the guide of Sinnlos?
Man nods. He has a sharp face and weary eyes.
Well, that's grand. We would like an escort across the lake.
Bemelle motions to the two of us, and Margaret approaches, a strained smile on her face.
Hello, it's good to see you again. I'm ready to cross, as we've agreed upon.
Guide turns to face her as well, face remaining unchanged. It must not be a lie. Would have had to say something otherwise. She really does have preference to travel with him. That's a problem.
Is there a way we can all begin the trip tonight?
Yes, I will allow all three of you to go. But with that many, at least one will die before we reach the other side.
I furrow my brow. It's a disturbing addendum, and one offered with little emotion attached. Bemelle glares back, asking without asking what we're supposed to do with such circumstances.
You should go around.
The sentence hangs in the air, the second half unspoken. If you want to live.
We don't have time for that. There are people counting on us for protection. Why does she need to go?
He jerks a finger at Margaret, whose face contorts in anger.
I don't need to explain myself to you. My journey has already been put off once, and I was promised I could go today. I will be going under any circumstances.
She meets Bemelle's eyes with a gaze of steel. He starts to speak, and she cuts in. Yeah, that is a bit of a problem. Gotta say, despite her attitude, she is in the right. She is entitled to the trip, and we appear to just be approaching, looking for the guide. Impromptu, rather.
An extra day or two shouldn't be that much of a problem for you. Whoever you're meeting can surely wait such a tiny amount longer. Patience is a virtue, after all.
I take it back. She's
The night is
no.
only so long, and if we're still on the bridges when the sun comes up, we'll all die as they sink back below the surface. If you don't decide soon, no one will be going.
The guide is dispassionate, stoic. I'd almost feel something's wrong with him if I didn't share that trait myself. Bemelle pulls me to the side, jaw clenched tight.
That woman isn't armed.
Uh-oh. His voice is low. He darts a glance at Margaret.
We can easily get her to back off if we make this into an actual fight. After all, we have to go tonight, yes? If one of us really is to die, it'll be her. Would staying be a worse fate than her death?
It's a bit excessive. I stare at the dock, refusing to meet Bemelle's eyes, and try to keep my voice as level as possible.
We don't know her situation. This isn't a decision we can make for her.
What?
Bemelle leans in closer, apparently having missed what I said. I remove the sympathy for her in my response when I speak again.
The guide won't accept something like that, I assume.
His face is grim.
Then what else do you have in mind?
First of all, you and I cannot split up. Either we both stay, or we both go.
Right. That's not a question.
I cross my arms, a hand on my chin. I have full confidence in my abilities, and in Bemelle's. There's no reason not to believe that the guide knows exactly what he's talking about. If we go, he might not be able to give the group the attention we each deserve. That would mean we truly would be putting Margaret's life at risk on top of our own. Oh shit. I believe we should go.
I believe you.
Bemelle's reply is firm. My steadfastness seems almost weak in comparison to his certainty. He addresses the guide.
We shouldn't waste more time. Let's shove off.
The guide slowly turns around, without even a nod to show his agreement. Margaret stares at Bemelle and me, something of a resolve in her gaze. Then she follows after the guide. At least she didn't insist we stay behind.
We should do what we can to protect her. It's our fault she's being put in even further danger.
Exactly my thoughts. We will take care of everything. Maybe I'm being naive, but I have no intentions of letting anyone fall victim to this lake tonight. Those monsters can starve.
I smile at him for a change, and Bemelle eagerly smiles back.
We're lucky to have each other in this, I think.
He turns to follow the others across. I will protect everyone on this trip. I will. We will make it through this. Then I step onto the dock and join them. As soon as I step onto the wood, the temperature drops. The light of my lamp shines against the water's surface as reflected as a mirror. Till we reach land again, death is only one small mistake away. We fall into line, with the guide leading the way. Margaret stays close to him, and I behind her, watching to make sure she doesn't slip on the slick, wet wood. Bemelle brings up the rear. Each of us hold our lanterns in front of us, but it does little good. The fog is thick and nigh impenetrable, consuming the light as if hungry for it. Above the surface of the lake, it's deathly quiet. No longer is there just the whispering wind, nor the sound of water lapping against the shore. It's just our own mismatched footsteps and the sound of my quickened breathing. My eyes drift back to the lake, against my better judgment. It's no wonder there's not even the sound of water, with how still the surface is. It seems almost sturdy with the sheen of a black marble floor. I've heard rumors the water of Sinnlos is heavier, more difficult to disturb than natural water. That just the weight of its oppressive cling is enough to keep someone down, even without them. Something even darker than the abyss of the lake flickers just below the surface. Or at least, I think it does. I turn my gaze to Margaret's back. It's better to stay focused.
Fall back a bit. You're following me too closely.
The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
I'm sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Margaret's shoulders rise, and she nods with great seriousness.
I understand. Thank you for the advice.
He ignores her gratitude.
You can speak amongst yourselves if you so choose, as long as you pay attention to where you're going. There is no worth in listening to the sounds out there. If there's anything at all, it'll only be Nixi trying to set you on edge.
All right. Then, could you tell us your name? You didn't have a chance to properly introduce yourself, and I've only heard you being referred to as the guide.
I don't have a name.
Fair enough. He's facing the front again. His voice is expressionless as before. I have no way of guessing how he feels as he says this.
Oh.
It's probably not something he wishes to talk about. However, there was something else I wanted to say, so changing the subject is not difficult.
Margaret, thank you for allowing us to join you.
Margaret shrugs non-committally.
It wasn't exactly up to me. The guide said he would take you.
She hesitates, and then she looks tentatively over her shoulder at me.
But thank you for saying that. It's appreciated.
Hey,
Bemelle
we're getting
and I
on.
will do our best to be an asset on this trip, rather than a burden.
That's nice. I'm not afraid to be out here, though. Still, at least with your training, you should be able to take care of yourselves.
It's comforting to know that everyone here is so confident in their abilities. Not enough to forget how terrible it feels to be over this lake. I'm not sure if that is fortunate or unfortunate. Believing yourself to be secure doesn't mean that you are. Uh-oh. As the conversation lulls, a new sound breaks through. It's the whispering noise again. It's the chatter of inhuman voices, and this time coming from all around us.
Taking care of yourself is exactly what you need to do.
The guide is speaking again, except louder, as if to cover the Nixi's voices with his own.
Work to survive at all costs, and hope that everyone around you has enough sense to do the same. That's the only way you'll make it to the other side.
Simple enough. Margaret nods in response, but I hear a grunt from behind me.
Groups tend to go further when they work together to achieve the same goal.
The guide doesn't say anything in response to Bemelle's grumbling effort, either. I'm not sure whether he didn't hear Bemelle, whether he just didn't feel the statements made thus far are worthy of addressing. I have a feeling it's the latter. You go around a large bend at the bridge, part of it forking off to another way. Wonder how the guide knows which one of these essentially identical paths is correct, when something in the corner of my eye catches my attention.
I believe I saw something over there.
Keep walking. No need to worry.
Guide's voice is calm and level. I decide against pressing the issue, not wanting to set everyone even more on edge.
What did he say?
Perhaps not wanting the conversation to be caught by the guide, he speaks softly, though I couldn't quite hear him because of it. Oh, hello. Take my eyes off Margaret ahead for a moment to explain it to Bemelle, and stop dead in my tracks. Only one word is able to escape me in my stunned state.
Behind.
Behind Bemelle stands another figure, looming in the darkness. Seeing my face, Bemelle grabs the hilt of his sword. He whips around and staggers swiftly backwards. Several meters away, a crooked, twisted black figure hobbles its way toward us. Some kind of liquid drips off its head, curling around the edges of its face. It almost looks like it's crying. Bemelle backs up until he's standing beside me. The figure continues its slow advance, head jerking from one angle to another.
What on earth?
It's one of them.
Yes, Nixi that stumble across the bridges looking for opportunities.
The guide is standing next to us. I didn't even notice him approach.
The ones that can make it out of the water are generally referred to as prowlers.
I had no idea things like that were out here. Is that what Kikka saw down the other path?
The guide says nothing, instead returning to the front of the party. Margaret watches him pass. Frustration morphs into nervous optimism when something seems to come to her mind.
Well, Nixi aren't slowed down much by swords, but at least the light keeps them away, right?
Right? Margaret's hand grips her face tight, and desperation bleeds into her voice. I bite the inside of my lip.
Direct light will force it to return to the lake. However, it'll try to drag the light, or you, down with it before it goes.
Ah, not ideal. Instinctively, I reach for the hilt of my sword, despite the fact that it would do little to protect me. The prowler is getting closer, jerking forward, stopping, then resuming its slow advance.
Okay, does anyone have a light we can leave here? That way it won't follow us.
Only matches.
Bemelle spits. He's the one bringing up the rear, so he's the one most likely to be in danger if it keeps following. The guide, however, moves forward.
Don't forget it's there, don't let your guard down, and don't get left behind.
What? How am I supposed to keep walking with this thing at my heels? You said it wants to attack.
Don't give it the chance.
Bemelle sputters in anger, and the guide summarily ignores him. I solemnly grab a hold of Bemelle's upper arm.
Here, I'll lead you like this, and you can keep your focus solely on the prowler. Make sure it doesn't get too close.
Bemelle eyes the guide with unresolved hostility, but allows himself to softly sigh in relief. He gazes at me with fondness.
At least there's someone I can count on.
Despite the fact I'm going against his advice, the guide says nothing more. It's clear now that he doesn't give a damn what we end up doing. Some part of me is glad for that. Want to help everyone make it through. It would be worse to have to persuade the guide every time help was necessary.
Kikka, thank you.
Bemelle places a gentle hand on my shoulder. Oh. Affection. Oh. I feel Bemelle start as I reciprocate his touch, but just as quickly a smile replaces the shock. The moment is pleasant, a small balm against a large burn. I harden my expression, and Bemelle follows suit. Moves his free arm down. I fully link his arm with mine, and now, properly settled, look forward. Margaret is following the guide with some reluctance, turning back every so often to check on us. I wave my lantern to signal we're catching up. Margaret returns her head to the front and quickens her pace. The tug on Bemelle, we start to follow them. The four of us continue cautiously over the bridges. Only this time, the wet, squishing footsteps of the prowler join the sound of our own. Despite myself, I grip Bemelle tighter. Prowler walks without a set pattern. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. It takes long steps, then short ones. At times, it stops walking entirely. Does it hurt to be out of the water like this? Or is it trying to be difficult to read? Suddenly, the whispering in the lake grows louder. I steel myself, trying not to let it get to me. Most important thing in a situation like this is to remain calm. I can't lose my head. Then, all at once, I notice the guide and Margaret have come to a halt.
Bemelle, they're stopping.
Bemelle slows down as I do. As we get near Margaret's back, she says with something akin to distress,
There's another one.
I tug on Bemelle and he understands. We draw up close to Margaret, ready to protect her if need be, but the guide holds out a hand.
Don't get any closer.
Just over his shoulder, I see another prowler stumbling towards us, white liquid dripping from its eyes. Guide's hand turns over in the air, palm up.
Give me a lantern. We'll throw it.
Margaret extends her own lantern with a trembling hand. When Bemelle speaks instead, his back still turned.
If you have to take someone's, take mine.
Yes, an extra light won't do us much good when we're standing this close together.
Margaret takes Bemelle's lantern from him, and guarded relief displayed on her features.
Thank you.
She hands the lantern to the guide, whose hand grips it tightly, knuckles growing pale.
Stay here. I can't throw it too far, or the light will blow out before it reaches the Nix.
He steps closer to the monster, his movements light and confident. As he nears, the prowler starts to back away. Is it only the approaching light that's making it retreat, or are they afraid of him? The guide is far enough away from us that the fog is partially obscuring him, hiding his movements. Voices from the lake grow louder and louder. Oh, water suddenly begins to splash across the lake, in the distance and onto the edges of the bridge. They want him to mess up. Then suddenly the guide takes multiple long and fast strides forward, throws the lantern, jumps backwards to regain the lost distance. There's a sharp hiss and a deep splash, and the voices of the Nixi grow quieter. Not silent, but quieter. A sigh escapes me, and the guide comes back to our group.
We should keep going before it comes back.
Glance at Bemelle and realize that he, too, is looking relieved at the guide before us. And then I see it. Oh! First prowler, it's still there. It's right there. Hello! God dang. I shift around, pulling Bemelle behind me. Prowler lunges after him, barely missing Bemelle, but striking my lantern instead. The fire goes out, and the two of us are plunged into an unearthly darkness. Then there's a slick splash. I realize the Nix has retreated into the water. Somehow Bemelle and I are still standing. We're still here.
Kikka, thank you.
Oh. I can't respond. Something cold, wet, and slimy has grabbed my ankle. Uh-oh. Kick it off. I kick my leg out as fast as I can. The Nix's hold slips. Can't pull them with the momentum I've gained against it. Margaret rushes to my side, her lantern hanging out towards the Nix. The light brushes its face. We see it for an instant, its eyes wide, and then it slides back into the smooth surface of the water. Bemelle grabs Margaret and I both, helping us towards the center of the bridge and cussing under his breath.
I only looked away for 1 second.
It's fine, Bemelle. We're all fine.
Are you actually alright?
Hell no. Margaret cocks her head down, examining my ankle. But there's nothing but a wet smudge around my trousers.
I am fine.
I say that, but I don't actually want to let go of Bemelle. I need to, in order to relight our lantern that provide us actual safety. But I feel such a strong desire not to be alone in this moment. I shake my head roughly and let go of him, relighting the lantern as fast as I'm able.
Kikka, thank you. Again. You saved my life. I won't let this happen again.
Yes. Yes. It would be good for all of us to pay more attention.
I had not let her guard down. Margaret nods solemnly. Suddenly it seems like we're on the same side. It isn't only Bemelle and I. She is with us in more than simply presence. The guide's voice, as cold as that monster's grasp, ends my train of thought.
We lost the lantern I threw, and Nix grabbed it after the light went out.
Well, kind of to be expected. Margaret makes a noise. I glance over, wondering whether she's upset. There's a small smile on her face instead.
It's better than them taking anything else.
Yeah, you're not wrong. A nervous laugh bubbles up out of me. My just as quick stops. Bemelle chuckles in response, and our collective tension eases up, the adrenaline draining from our bodies.
We need to keep walking.
Let's. The guide starts down the bridge again, and we join him. I try to clamp down on the relief. The ease that wants to flood my head. It's not over. Prowler is gone, but so is Bemelle's lantern.
You can stay near me, Bemelle, since your lantern is lost.
I appreciate it.
Margaret goes on ahead of us. Bemelle stays by my side as I keep at the end of the line. Breath of release from Margaret and Bemelle is quickly swallowed by the somber atmosphere of Sinnlos as well, replaced by the gravity of the near-death experience. Never mind celebrating his survival. Something like that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Memory of the prowlers reaching out towards us appears each time I close my eyes.
Why does it look like something's dripping down their faces?
The prowlers are on Margaret's mind, too. Looking at her pained expression, it's as though the moment of relief never existed at all.
I'm not sure.
I wonder if it's a case of, if you get pulled into the lake, you become one of them.
Me neither. Something's wrong with them, though.
Like a ever-propagating, self-replicating curse that's only grows stronger the more people who try and cross and get pulled into the lake and die.
They live in water. Air shouldn't be good for the things, but they want to drown humans so much they're willing to drag themselves around on land? It's not right.
Of course it isn't. They're monsters. They likely do not even understand the concept of right and wrong. They're seeking out light and possibly warmth, too. Maybe comfort, too. Like, maybe them pulling humans into the water isn't malicious. It's just, I'm cold and dark and sad and just want something warm. And it's just become a monstrous instinct.
Well, I don't disagree that there's something very wrong about them. I truly, truly hope that's the last we'll see of the Prowlers.
Something comes to her mind, causing Margaret to end her part of the conversation early.
Since you two have to share a light, wouldn't it be safer to be in the middle?
Margaret stops and waits for Bemelle and I to reach her position.
That way, you'll catch the edges of my light and the guides, and it won't be so dangerous if Bemelle loses his position momentarily.
That's a very kind offer, Margaret.
Bemelle's surprise is so apparent I want to cover his face with my hands, stop him from insulting her. She merely smirks. I think Margaret may be surprised with herself, too. Bemelle returns to his usual surety.
As thoughtful as it is, I, at least, am fine with bringing up the rear. I'm used to keeping watch for monsters, and since there are two of us, it's not my life.
Oops, sorry.
So I shouldn't be the one to decide what she should do with it.
Margaret and Bemelle turn to look at me in unison. Seems like it's my decision. Neither of them are wrong. As for me, my goal is to protect everyone. I can't very well do that with Margaret following behind us. Being stuck in the middle of the group could also be dangerous depending on what circumstances we come across. Getting pincered by the enemy would be an almost sure death, no matter how experienced Bemelle and I are. I just don't know what to expect from this bridge, and that makes things so much more difficult. Ooh.
So you're staying behind?
Yeah, let's just stay as is.
Seems like it.
Yes, I think we'll be good here.
I might regret this.
But really, thank you. That was a very kind offer.
If we lose Bemelle, we'll just play it out to the end.
Well, alright.
See where that gets us. Margaret respects our decision and trots ahead a bit to catch back up with the guide. He who has paid no mind to the entire affair.
So, I don't want to sound like a child, but how much longer until we arrive at the halfway point?
Margaret chuckles, reflecting the amusement I don't want to vocalize.
We still have some ways to go.
Damn.
I suppressed my laughter yet again at his pouting response. The gloom we've been under dissipates slightly, like a light flickering through the fog.
The first trial tends to be the most difficult. I believe we will only react better from this point on.
I like the way you think.
Then a gleam enters Bemelle's eyes, and he grins.
I think Kikka deserves a round of applause. Her quick reflexes are owed the utmost appreciation.
He leans softly into my shoulder, trying to get me to... What?
It was indeed a sight. You're quite capable. Bemelle was also a sight, but for very different reasons. The way he froze with his mouth all agape was a laugh in itself.
Bemelle shakes a fist at Margaret in mock anger, then shoots me an affectionate look.
You should know, she and I are usually on equal footing.
Usually. There's a reason why they call Kikka the Steadfast.
The only reason you had footing at all is because she pulled you back.
Steadfast indeed. Bemelle laughs self-consciously, scratching his head.
That's very true. You can always count on Kikka.
I keep my eyes steadily ahead, unsure how I should respond. Sorry. I'm pleased, almost grateful to hear what they think of me, but I don't know what I could say that wouldn't seem pathetic. Instead, I contribute the best way I can. I keep my focus on the path ahead of us. Without a response from me, the conversation quickly dies out. Still, it eases my heart to be on such friendly terms with my companions. After some time, I notice Margaret isn't keeping up with the guide as much as she was before. I realize it's because the guide has increased his pace. Margaret begins to jog in an effort to keep up with him, and Bemelle and I do the same. Despite this, the guide keeps getting further away. Oh, this is bad. We go faster and faster until suddenly we're full-on sprinting across the slick wooden boards. Figures in the dark fog fly past us at a blur. And it occurs to me that the branching paths in the bridge appear to be sinking? I try hard to swallow my rising panic. The guide shouts something, but it's drowned out by the frantic pounding of our footsteps. Oh boy, I'm trying to piece together what he said. Don't stop, turn? When he takes a masterfully sharp right down a different path, using his own momentum and the sleek wood to slide into the new direction with no loss of speed. Oh no, Margaret! Margaret must not have worked out the warning either, as she's completely caught off guard by the guide's change in course. She runs straight ahead, past the turn, continues down the path we've been following up until now. She clumsily begins to halt her momentum down the wrong bridge. Then I come upon the fork. Uh-oh. We're gonna try and... Oh shit, I keep straight ahead, not making an attempt to go the correct direction. Bemelle seems to fumble slightly, but stays close behind me and in the light. I inwardly apologize. I come upon Margaret, who nearly runs into me in her efforts to turn around. Her face twists at the sight.
Why are you...
I ignore her and move to face the other way. The path we came from is disappearing into the water. sinking. Oh.
We have to jump.
Oh, that's bad.
What?
Margaret holds up her hands, but I grab her and spin her towards the path the guide is on.
Go. We'll catch up.
But
Bemelle and I will have to jump together. He needs the light. Just move.
I practically shove her. Without further hesitation, she takes the leap. She makes it just past the edge of the bridge, knees buckling as she lands, but is soon back up on her feet and holding her lantern out towards me. She beams with pride. Encourage her to keep going. I smile back and motion Margaret towards the guide. She understands the gesture, though hesitates, obvious conflict in her eyes. However, she nods and runs after him.
Here.
I offer Bemelle my hand, tightening my grip on the lantern. Bemelle accepts the offer, giving it a brief squeeze. A tight smile plasters itself across my face as I try to calculate the distance between our bridge and the others. Then the ground starts to shake once more.
Jump.
We dash to the bridge's edge and leap. Cold air rushes past my face, winding its fingers into my hair. For an instant, I think I see something moving under the surface of the water. Then we land hard on the wooden bridge. Bemelle lets out a sigh of relief as we both quickly get fully back on our feet. He gently runs a thumb over the top of my hand before he releases it. There's a clear sense of affection to it.
Stay close. We need to run.
I'll be right behind you.
I take off, not bothering to ensure Bemelle is staying true to his word. I know he'll follow. The guide's fading light bounces in the distance, a clear signal that he's still running. I focus everything I have on catching up. Slowly, we begin to close the distance. As the night wears on, our strength rapidly fades. Even my stamina is being challenged. Can't imagine what this must be like for Margaret. She's holding her side as she runs, clearly cramping from the exercise. How much longer will this last? We'll have to rest sometime. Almost as if in response to my thought, the guide abruptly halts. I skid to a stop as well, sliding on the surface of the wood.
Why did we stop?
Bemelle's voice is tired, but his guard is up. The guide doesn't answer, just stares at something slightly out of view. I step up to join him, following his gaze further down the path. Oh? There, curled in a little ball, illuminated by the lantern's light, cowers a person. His hands grip his head, and he rocks from side to side, mumbling incoherently.
It's a man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Please. I'm sorry.
I'm struck with an array of questions. What is going on? Why would he wander out onto these bridges on his own? Did he make it this far by himself? Were there others with him? If that's somehow the case, I can't blame him for the state of shock he's in. The man stops mumbling, glances above him, seemingly only just now having the strength to lift his head. His expression, the deepest sadness, along with the clear markings of terror, are scrawled across his face. I stare at him in shock, not sure what to do.
Leave him.
I snap my eyes away from the man and instead to the guide's cold, implacable face.
No! We can't just leave him here. We've managed fine enough already, and these creatures will probably pluck him away as soon as we've gone. Without light, it's certain he'll die.
He won't make it regardless.
The guy turns to look at us, his eyes seeming to glow from the closeness of his lantern. For the first time, I feel uncomfortable in his presence.
Whoever shelters him will only risk dragging themselves down with him. Leave him.
Based on the danger we've been through, we can't disagree. Oh. I glance at the others. Bemelle is outraged, but Margaret is staring at the man with something like fear. She's uneasy, but she doesn't voice her concerns. I'm trying to think of some kind of compromise when the guide speaks again, his voice cutting.
If the man comes, then whoever is shielding him will have to remain at a distance from the rest of the group. Far enough that you can't see me, just my light. That is how you will travel across the bridges. I didn't agree to lead this man, and I won't. If you ask me to, I will leave you all behind.
Adrenaline surges through my veins and I tense up. It's a painful reminder that the guide isn't here to save our lives, but merely to show us the way. We're on our own. Margaret, Bemelle, and I frantically share more looks between each other, trying to communicate without words. None of us have a desire to speak and be the first to make a choice. Man is standing now, though still hunched with his arms wrapped around himself as if expecting a blow. He stares at the ground, rather than us. Because of this, I'm having trouble reading his face. What exactly happened to him?
Are you well, stranger? Do you know where you are and why you're here?
He glances up, not at me, but towards me, his eyes resting somewhere near my collarbone.
I'm fine. You all can go on your way. Forget you even saw me here.
That's absurd. You have no way to defend yourself. We can't leave you.
Yes, I'm sure in your eyes I might not seem like much, but that's not exactly a fair shake. Maybe in a perfect world, every man would be as large as you. But that's not how things always go. It doesn't mean I'm defenseless.
Man's response is meandering. The words themselves seem to be in good jest, but he's still barely looking at us. Fidgeting with his hands, Bemelle frowns, unimpressed.
It was a joke.
He smiles hesitantly, making eye contact with each of us for the first time.
What part of it was supposed to be the joke? Do you even realize what is happening in this moment?
Never mind. Forget that too. Point is, I'm alright.
Are you sure about that?
You were curled up in a ball when we met.
Exactly. Something must be wrong with you.
Oh no, sounds like you've been talking with my father.
He lets out a weak little laugh coupled with an eyebrow raise, voice trembling. No one really knows what to make of this. Man gives a small wave and begins down the path we came. Bemelle huffs, tossing his hands into the air.
That's not even the right way.
It could be, if he's trying to get to the side we came from.
He must have come quite a ways if it was the other shore that he started on.
The man's smile grows.
Good. That's not so bad.
There is no response to this remark, unsure of what could be said.
I still think he should come with us. A person needs a light, and the guide himself said he won't be able to manage on his own. Sticking with us is his best option.
I look over the man's body, noting the scrawniness of his limbs. Scrawny, but not necessarily lacking in muscle. The bravado he was showing as he tried to leave us has faded yet again. Now he's standing quietly, looking at us, as if watching a play. Interest, but no true connection to the events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering? It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Bemelle looks at Margaret. She avoids his gaze.
Perhaps I could have let him share my light before. But the guide has said the one with him has to remain behind, and I simply wouldn't be able to manage it.
Bemelle's hands turn into fists. Looks away but doesn't say anything. For a moment, no one does. I feel a cold sweat on my brow as what I feared comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can he not leave us to make our own decisions?
You... Don't worry about me. I'll be on my way now.
Man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and he starts to shuffle back down the way we came, arms still clenched around himself. Margaret might not be able to take him, but there's another way this could be solved. I could stay back with him. It'll put Bemelle and myself at a significantly more risk. At least this man will stand a chance. Oh boy. I can't risk it. Margaret and Bemelle stare at the man as he leaves. We all watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. I'm just curious. Do nothing. Okay. So not making a decision is essentially as same as choosing to not do anything. Or is it? It would be clever if there was a distinct difference between choosing to do nothing and not being able to make a decision. In this case, I can't risk it. We had to let him go. We've only barely been surviving so far. The space the man vanished into is dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him, not even his footsteps.
Maybe we should call him back? We can at least give him directions. Tell him what paths we've been taking.
It's not going to make any difference. We can't give directions when the bridges we were on might very well have sunken away.
We shouldn't focus on what might become of him. He has his own path to follow, and we ours. We should focus on what we're doing now.
Of course, it's not really a might. We have to get through this somehow, and being weighed down with guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up with him. We walk onwards in silence. Our party hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him. But there's a sense of loss all the same, and no one even attempts mirth. Though Bemelle constantly looks to want to reach out towards my empty hand, always thinking better of it before doing so. I'm sorry, friend, but we will give you a chance next playthrough. I keep thinking I should have done more. I should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind so it was less dangerous to keep the man around. Something. Anything. But I have to let this go. I'm not going to forget that man. Never forget him. We still need to get through this. I curl my hands into fists, hoping it'll strengthen my resolve. And then I push forward. I turn down a different path, and the guide stops. Oh, ahead of us stands a group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their heads in unison, as if they knew we were coming. Inhale.
Not again.
The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We already lost a lantern and it's only our first day. We can't keep doing this.
Yes, we can't lose a lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with a free hand.
What are you planning?
Bemelle's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch, then opens a latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
Oh,
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire. And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
none of my concern.
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
He says it with such... Oh, we got an achievement that says inevitability. I'm concerned. It just says the price one must pay. That's... I'm concerned. I am very concerned. I am very concerned. What is happening? The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. Bends his lantern back down until it is lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back and up. The glass on the lantern snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
Takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. Prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows, despite the heavy dampness from the lake. Those bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heels, almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into one another, maybe even fall off the bridge. Uh-oh! Then the world tilts. I was mid-stride. When I put my foot down, the bridge wasn't where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Bemelle and I managed to keep our ground, but Margaret falls to the ground. At least I thought that's what happened. She starts pawing at the bridge. My glasses fell off. I can't see. The guide, having regained his balance, presses on. Doesn't even bother to look at her. Bemelle and I run to Margaret, scanning the bridge, but there's no sign of her glasses. Flames are growing thicker and closer. Heat, life-sucking. Close enough to nip at her heels. I grab Margaret's arm.
Glasses aren't here anymore. We have to go or we'll lose the guide.
Margaret squints up at me, face paler than ever. She nods and stands, and we start after the guide again. As our storm of feet and thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to rise into view just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it, we're almost there. Safety at long last in sight, new energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once the bridge ends, and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth. Solid earth. A haven from the water. Catch my breath while still moving even further away from the dark shoreline. Can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. Our night falls once more. We'll have to do it all again. A heavy arm falls across my shoulders. I straighten to see Bemelle smiling warily at me.
Good work out there.
It's not the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. With a sigh, he leans his head to the side, having it rest slightly against mine. Usually Bemelle's comfort and good nature gives me at least the urge to smile. Right now it feels like a hollow victory. He moves to face Margaret, who is squinting at the surrounding area.
Good work out there.
The statement is more energetic. He's not willing enough to show a lack of confidence in front of her. Margaret smiles slightly.
How are you doing without your glasses?
Oh, I'll manage. I have to, after all. I'm not completely blind, thankfully, so I can muddle my way through.
There isn't anything much to see out on those bridges. As long as you stay away from the edge, you should be as safe as you were before.
That's true. It will be fine.
One way or another, we'll make it through. And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that his steps on the soft sand are nearly silent, and his dusky clothes blend with the thinning of the night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Is that why you decided to set the bridges on fire? To make the island safer?
The guide looks at Margaret. What I suddenly realize might be only the second or third time all night.
Setting the bridges alight isn't an uncommon strategy. It has many uses.
He walks away, Margaret frowning at his retreating form. Come. The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far from the water. Trees partly obscure our location, and there's enough room to walk to the coast in case prowlers start to emerge from the water. Eh? Mouse? Did my mouse just die? Essentially, it's a place where an ambush would be hard. Yes, it did. Awesome. Go. Touchpad, then.
If any of you see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns to a different direction. For a brief second, I feel a flicker of pride. This night may have been awash with misery, but we're still here for each other. As the sky continues to fade, from pale purple to a muted blue, the water stays silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It is a miracle. Suddenly, my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. The first pricks of light appear over the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through the darkness. A sound catches my attention and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening the latch on his lantern again. Gently, almost respectfully, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixi. It is over for today.
Almost unable to keep tears of relief from pouring out at those words. Made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, understanding passing between us. Then we find our own space, as comfortable as we can get, and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop up my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky. That isn't the only reason I am eager to get onto my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bemelle and Margaret are still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he left us hours ago. There's a creeping silence here. Can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside of me. Refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bemelle wakes suddenly, rising with alarm and startling Margaret awake as well. My mouth opens, then shuts. After a moment of fumbling, a word finally escapes.
Hello.
Hello? We leave off here, I think. We made it through the first night. So now we're going to enter a ending branch, so to speak. 1 of 5, specifically. We're going to keep going until we get an ending, then we're going to go experiment with other choices. Like favoring Margaret over Bemelle, favoring no one, saving the boy. I don't know, maybe we'll try and see all the ways to die that we can in the first night. It seemed like we could abandon Margaret to die by not turning by making the turn and not going back for her when she overshoots the turn. That's interesting. I'm digging this. It's certainly tense. I was gonna say, I guess part of me is hoping there's some variation in the choice speed to really ramp up the tension. I feel like that's the two things that you could do to improve the whole time choice thing. One, cut the time down a little bit. As it stands now, it's just a bit too much time for my personal liking. That's just my opinion. Number 2, maybe disable saving during the time choices. Just so I can't cheese it, like I did a few times. Overall, I am intrigued. Really enjoying this. And the voice acting's really on point, too. Alright. That being said, we'll leave off for now. Until next time. Until then. Oops, forgot. My mouse died.